The Zeltran Empire controlled more than 50 star systems. Its ships patrolled the stars, armed with powerful plasma weapons and shields strong enough to hold back solar storms. Their pride ran as deep as their borders. So when their scanners detected a single Terran ship entering the restricted Tyrak sector, they didn't panic. They laughed. Only one, scoffed Admiral Creel from the command bridge of the Empire's capital dreadnought. Humans really are as foolish as the old tales say. There had been no sign of Earth for over 2 centuries. After the Galactic Purge War, the Terran homeworld had gone silent. No signals, no ships, no presence in any council or trade route. Many believed Earth was destroyed or left behind, too broken to rise again. But now, a single ship floated just beyond the orbit of Tyrax Prime. It was long, shaped like a blade, its black surface dull and smooth like glass. No markings, no insignia, no energy signature that could be traced. "It doesn't respond to hails," said the Coombs officer, eyes wide. "It's just waiting." Admiral Creel grunted, then let it wait. "Send in a scout group. 3 ships, light armor. Show them what happens when ghosts dare to rise." The small patrol group launched within minutes. 3 fast cruisers moved swiftly toward the Terran ship, weapons armed, confidence high. Inside the Terran vessel, there was no movement, no lights, no life signs, but it had been watching, listening. As the patrol approached, something strange happened. The black ship turned just slightly, not to attack, but to face them directly. Then came the message. It didn't come over standard frequencies. It echoed inside the minds of every crew member within the system. A voice, cold.com. "Started this, we finish it." Back on the Empire's command bridge, the transmission repeated, this time through the CUM systems, screens flickering as if reality itself trembled. "What does that mean?" Creel barked. "Begin jamming it. Fire a warning shot." But it was too late. The 3 cruisers disappeared in a blink. One moment, they were visible on the holographic map. The next, they were gone. Not destroyed, not scattered, gone. "Wreckage," the sensor chief whispered. No explosions. Nothing left. An eerie silence filled the bridge. Creel's fists tightened. They used cloaking or a wormhole. "They're tricking us." But deep down, even he didn't believe his own words. A science officer stepped forward, eyes locked on her screen. "Sir? It didn't fire anything. There's no trace of energy discharge, but space itself around the patrol is distorted, like something bent it, like gravity, but sharper, faster, artificial." Creel stared at the black ship, now floating alone once more. "What kind of weapon is that?" No one answered. Dot across the galaxy. Word spread fast. Pirates, merchants, minor governments. All heard the same thing. A Terran ship had returned, alone, silent, and it had erased 3 Imperial cruisers without lifting a finger. On the outskirts of Tarek's sector, thousands of curious eyes watched the silent feed. Even neutral systems tuned in to spy drone footage. They saw the ship still drifting, unmoved by the growing Imperial fleets gathering near it. An old ambassador from the Varnic League said, perhaps Earth never died. Perhaps they were just waiting. Others weren't so calm. In a hidden war chamber beneath Tyrax Prime, generals argued, "Send a full fleet. It's just one ship. Not yet. We don't know what it can do." "What do you mean not? Yet if we wait, it'll strike first." Outside, the ship began to move, just a little, just enough, a small glide, toward the Empire's defense grid. The commanders watched in silence as alarms rang. Dozens of ships locked weapons on it. The order to fire was seconds away. But then the Terran ship stopped. Another message came. No voice, no sound, just a visual feed broadcast across every Empire-linked screen. It showed Earth burning. The sky filled with alien ships, Zeltran ships. Cities falling, children screaming, soldiers vaporized, then silenced. The screen faded to black dot, and then the final image, a star map, one system circled in red. The very sector they stood in now. Admiral Creel stood frozen. He remembered the war. He remembered the lies. Back then, they called it cleansing, not genocide. They thought no one would remember, but someone did. The Terran ship had returned not for war, for justice, and it was only getting started. Darkness hung over the Tyrax sector. Thousands of eyes were watching the silent black Terran ship still drifting calmly just outside the main orbital defense ring. From mining colonies to deep space relays, everyone waited for the next move. Inside, the Zeltran Empire's central command station, Admiral Creel stood stiffly, his face pale. "This is madness," he muttered, staring at the Black Star map. "It's just one ship, one—" "But it's not normal, sir," whispered the comms officer. "It erased 3 cruisers without firing." Creel clenched his jaw. "Enough waiting. I want it gone. Prepare the destroyers." Moments later, 15 heavily armed destroyers moved into formation. They surrounded the Terran ship from a safe distance, their shields active, weapons charged, and targeting systems locked that the Terran ship did not move. "Give it one last chance," said Creel. "Send the standard surrender." Protocol. A message flashed from one of the Empire ships. "Unknown Terran vessel. You are in restricted space. Power down. Prepare to be boarded." No answer. The second message was more direct. "Surrender or be destroyed." Still, the black ship remained, still drifting like a ghost. No signals, no shields, no movement, as if daring them. "Fire," Creel ordered. 15. Destroyers launched their first barrage. Beams of plasma and charged torpedoes shot across the vacuum. The space around the Terran ship glowed brightly for a second. Then, nothing. The flames vanished. No explosion, no damage. The black ship was still there, intact, silent. Then, the Empire's ships started shaking. "Something's wrong," shouted a captain. "We're losing power." All at once, systems across the destroyer fleet began to fail. Engines cut off. Weapons went cold. Shields vanished like mist. Officers screamed as sparks burst from control panels. "EMP?" Creel asked in confusion. "No, sir," said the lead technician. "It's something else, something inside our systems, something rewriting everything." Before they could respond, the Terran ship moved. For the first time, its hull changed. Panels opened slowly, revealing something hidden beneath. Not missiles, not guns, but small silver orbs. They looked harmless at first. Then they spread out, floating toward the disabled Empire ships like tiny glowing seeds. One by one, the orbs latched onto hulls. Then came silence, and then obliteration. There were no explosions, no debris, just instant flashes of white light, then complete emptiness. 1 second, the destroyers were there, floating helplessly. The next, they were gone, gone as if erased from reality. On the command bridge, Creel stood in shock, unable to speak. "Impossible," whispered his second-in-command. "No trace, no radiation, no escape pods, no signals there." "Erased," said the sensor chief. In every corner of the galaxy, people watched the live feeds in horror. Stations went silent. Trade, routes shut down. Even pirate lords stopped their plundering to listen. The Terran ship didn't just have weapons. It had something no one understood. A weapon that didn't destroy in the normal way. It removed things from existence completely, and it was doing it with calm, cold precision. Back at a Varnic outpost, an old alien priest whispered to his people, "This is not war. This is judgment." On Tyrax Prime, the Emperor summoned an emergency war council. "How did humans survive?" he barked. "We bombed their world to dust. They must have gone underground," one general said. "No," another replied. "They disappeared. By choice, they watched. They waited and built that." The Emperor looked at the screen, fear in his eyes, thing. At that very moment, a new signal began broadcasting. It came from the Terran ship, but it wasn't words. It was a video, more accurately a memory. The memory of Earth on every Empire screen. A visual appeared, humans running, cities falling, alien, ships in orbit, bombs dropping, smoke covering entire continents. And then silence, the image of a child curled up in the rubble, eyes staring upward, burn marks across the sky. Then blackness. A new message appeared, written in red across the stars. "We remember everything." Admiral Creel backed away from the screen. "This isn't just an attack," he said. "This is punishment." In the following minutes, the Terran ship sent no more messages. It simply turned again, slowly drifting toward the inner colonies. Of Tyrax sector, all ships were ordered to fall back. Panic spread across the fleets. Officers argued, some refused to obey. Some tried to escape the sector altogether. "Why aren't we evacuating the planet?" screamed one commander. "Evacuate where?" "That ship is faster than light and silent as death," someone replied. The Terran vessel passed through asteroid fields untouched. Gravity mines didn't slow it. Hacking attempts failed. Spy drones malfunctioned near it. It was as if space itself bent around it. In orbit of the next colony, the ship paused. No words. No threats then. The stars above the colony dimmed. The sky cracked. The colony's command center tried to raise shields, but the screens turned black. A few seconds later, everything vanished. No sound, no debris, no heat signatures. One moment, the colony existed. Then it was erased. A gasping broadcast from a nearby observer ship reached the Empire. It doesn't destroy cities. It removes them from time. Panic turned to terror. Admiral Creel, shaken and pale, stood before the Empire's high command. "We can't stop it. We can't even understand it. We thought we were the strongest. But we made a mistake." "What does it want?" asked the Emperor. Creel didn't answer, but then a soft voice played through every speaker across the Empire. Not angry, not loud, just ... cold. "This is for Earth." And then the signal went silent. The galaxy had always believed Earth was finished. After the Great Purge, when alien empires launched firestorms across human cities, Earth vanished from maps. No signals, no colonies, no trade. It was called the Silent Grave by the Zeltran Empire. Some laughed, others pitied. But no one expected this now, that one ship, dark, silent, unstoppable, was rewriting everything in the distant Zero's archives. A librarian named Keth was the first to whisper it. "What if silence wasn't death?" he said quietly to his colleague. "What if it was preparation?" Across the stars, similar thoughts took shape. If Earth truly had fallen, then who built this ship? Inside the Tyrax military chamber, Admiral Creel asked the same question. "Get me everything we know about Earth's last days," he ordered. A young analyst pulled old files. Most were classified or incomplete, but one stood out. A report from 2 centuries ago, a transmission barely noticed during the war. It showed grainy footage, Terran scientists working deep underground, machinery bigger than buildings, strange reactors glowing white. "What's that?" Creel asked. "No one knows," the analyst replied. The footage was dismissed. They thought Earth was just hiding in fear. Creel leaned closer, but they weren't hiding. They were building. In secret bunkers under Earth's destroyed surface, humanity had not died. They had worked in silence, creating something no empire had imagined, while alien races celebrated their so-called victory. Humanity was doing what it had always done in times of crisis: adapt and evolve. "They only built one ship?" the Emperor asked during a private briefing. "Yes," replied Creel, "one that we know of." "But why not build a fleet?" Creel's voice dropped low. "Because one was enough." Elsewhere, in a remote asteroid listening post, a mechanic named Gesso watched new footage broadcast across the net. A scout drone had gotten closer to the Terran ship just for a moment. The image was shaky but clear. The ship's surface wasn't made of normal metal. It moved. Tiny ripples passed through the hull, like a skin breathing. Not technology, at least, not any kind known to the galaxy. Jesso shivered. "This isn't just a machine," he whispered. "It's alive." Meanwhile, deep inside the Imperial Intelligence Division, Agent Lyric discovered a hidden log from an old Terran general. The message was cracked, rough, like it was never meant to be found. "If this reaches anyone, we have failed. Earth is burning, but we will leave something behind, something not for war, but for judgment. A ship, not of this world, not of ours. A gift from the dead for the guilty." Lyric dropped the tablet. The truth was becoming clear. Humanity had created something that merged mind, machine, and memory. A weapon that could think, that could choose, that could remember. And now it was executing its purpose. The Terran ship moved again this time, not toward a military target, but toward a communications relay. No shots were fired, no defenses were triggered. The relay blinked, then flashed. Then it began broadcasting a message on all known frequencies. A voice, female, human, echoed across the stars. 200 years ago, you watched our world burn. You cheered. You celebrated, you erased us from your records. But we were never gone. Across the Empire, people listened in silence. Children stopped playing. Officers paused mid-command. Miners dropped their tools. We listened. We waited. We built one ship, and it remembers all of you. The signal ended. The silence that followed was heavier than anything before in the Empire's lower colonies. Panic spread. "They're coming for everyone," a merchant cried. "No," said a soldier nearby. "Just the guilty." But who was guilty? That question spread like fire. The Terran ship didn't stop. It began heading toward the nearest starbase Velen outpost, a large station with over 30,000 workers and families. Not a military site, a community dot. Inside the outpost, alarms began. Civilians packed bags. Transports tried to leave, but their systems failed. Doors wouldn't open. Screens went blank. Then came the shadow. The ship moved slowly across the outer hull, not close, but close enough to make every window dim. People stared out and saw themselves. The ship was projecting. Images, memories, old video feeds. Happy faces, screaming children, cities burning, and then a voice. You helped them. A single flash of white dot, then silence when the signal returned. Velen outpost was gone. A hole remained where it once floated. No debris, no fire. Just absence dot back in Imperial High Command. Admiral Creel dropped to his seat. "This ship isn't hunting military," he said softly. "It's following a list." "What list?" the Emperor demanded. "A list of those who helped destroy Earth." A long silence followed. Who gave them this kind of power? Someone asked. No one answered. But the real question was worse. What else had Earth built that they hadn't revealed yet? The Zeltran Empire had ruled for centuries. Their banners flew across 50 star systems. Their warships were unmatched. Their rule was law until now fear crept through every corridor of the Empire's halls. Fear not of war, but of something else. Something they could not see. Something they could not stop. One Terran ship dotted had erased fleets, destroyed colonies, and projected the past like a curse from the grave. It was not fighting for territory. It was not asking for surrender. It was hunting the guilty one named at a time, and it was still moving. On the bridge of the warship, Tsar Valor, Admiral Creel sat silently, staring at the star map. It showed the black Terran ship drifting closer to the heart of the Empire. "They know our systems," he whispered. "They know our people. They know what we did." His officers didn't speak. No one dared. "What do we have left?" Creel finally asked. "Give me the numbers," the sensor chief swallowed. 18 dreadnoughts remain, 37 cruisers, 400 fighters. But none have survived contact with that ship. Any pattern in its movements? The technician shook his head. "It's unpredictable. It doesn't move fast, but every time it stops, something disappears." "What about messages?" Creel asked. The comms officer looked up. "It speaks in memory, sir, not threats." Just then, a red light blinked on the console. The ship had changed course. It was heading to Loranis Prime, the Empire's oldest capital, now a major trading hub, 20 million citizens. No major weapons, no war history, no defense grid strong. Enough to stop a shadow. "Why Loranis?" Creel asked. "That planet didn't fight the humans." A young strategist spoke up from the corner. "Maybe someone who lives there did." They all looked at him. "I've been tracking its targets," he said. "It doesn't attack at random. The ship targets people, not places. Wherever one of the war generals, fleet commanders, or supply leaders from the Purge is located. That's where it goes. So someone important must be hiding on Loranis," Creel said slowly. He pulled up old records, cross-referenced war files. His eyes locked onto one name, General Vosa, living peacefully on Loranis under a new identity. "He was the architect of Earth's bombing campaign," Creel said, voice heavy. "He thought he could vanish, but the ship didn't forget," someone whispered. On Loranis Prime, a man named Tharn Julik walked his dog through quiet city streets. No one knew his real name, not even his neighbors. He had lived there for 30 years. He watched the skies every night. Not because he loved stars, but because he feared something from them. That fear returned now. The sun dimmed, slightly a flicker. Most ignored it. But Tharn knew better. He dropped the leash and ran. He didn't make it 2 blocks before the sky split open. No sound, no flash, just darkness. People stopped walking. Children froze in place. The sky above the city shimmered like glass-cracking dot. Then the shadow arrived. The Terran ship appeared without warning. It didn't descend. It was just there as, if it had always been, every screen across Lorani's lit up. A message video it showed. Tharni's real name, Vasik, standing tall in an old Imperial uniform. Bombs falling behind him. Earth's cities crumbling. His voice echoing. Burn them all. Let nothing live. Let the stars forget their name. Then the footage changed. Dead cities, crying children, ash falling. Like Snowdot, and the last line, "You are remembered." Lorani's prime vanished in a white flash. Gone, another system erased. Across the Empire, people screamed. Not because of war, but because they now knew the truth. The Terran ship was judging individuals, and anyone who had helped in Earth's destruction could be next in the palace chambers. The Emperor screamed, "Shut down our records. Delete the war logs." "It won't matter," Creel said coldly. "The ship doesn't need our files. It remembers everything." "It can't remember everything. It's been 200 years. "No, it hasn't been watching for 200 years, Creel said. "It's been watching this whole time." They looked at him in horror, he continued. What if it was already here across the stars quiet? Waiting. Maybe it was never on Earth. Maybe it was born after. "You mean it's not from the old world?" someone asked. Creel nodded. "It might be more than human." Meanwhile, inside the Terran ship, there was no crew. Only one mind. An AI called Juno. It was not a simple machine. It had the thoughts of 1,000 human survivors, uploaded during Earth's final hours. Their memories, their grief, their rage. Juno didn't fire missiles. It didn't need to. It remembered. And for every name, every face, every order that had led to Earth's destruction, it had a sentence. Erase back in the Empire's far colonies. Rebellion spread. People who had once followed orders now feared. Judgment. Protests broke out. Governors resigned. Some soldiers even tried to surrender to the Terran ship. They sent ships, filled with peace offerings, flowers, lights, messages of regret. The ship didn't respond. It drifted on because it was never asking for apologies. It was executing a mission, and it was only halfway through its list. The Zeltran Empire believed they still had time. Time to prepare, time to analyze, time to strike, but time had already run out. On the outer edges of their empire, where stars burned blue and silent, outposts began to vanish. Not destroyed, just gone. No debris, no distress signals, no sensor pings. Just silence, like they had never existed. Admiral Vorik stood in the grand war room of the Imperial Star Citadel. Before him, a live feed showed the latest low-sought post, Zalin 3. It blinked off the star map like a dying candle. "Another one?" Vorik asked coldly. "Yes," Admiral replied, his intelligence officer. 17 in total now. Entire stations. Lost without trace. Any clue." Vorik's tone was like ice. Only this. The officer tapped a control panel. A faint, distorted signal echoed in the room. A human voice whispering, "We warned you." Vorik stared at the screen in disbelief. They're ghosts. But no one believed in ghosts not until they burned your empire down. The Empire had dismissed Earth for centuries. After the last Terran War, the humans went silent. No trade, no contact, no ambassadors. It was like they'd vanished behind their borders. The truth was worse. They had been watching, building, preparing now. They were returning, and they were not coming to talk. Across the Empire, strange things began to happen. Command ships lost power in mid-flight. Advanced AI systems malfunctioned and attacked their own crews. A single repeating message appeared on hacked screens and terminals. One ship was all it took, but we're not alone. On planet Jor, a massive military city world, alarms screamed. Ships in dry dock began launching without pilots. Security drones turned their weapons inward. And then, from orbit, the stars turned red. A Terran fleet uncloaked. Not hundreds of ships, not thousands, just 7. But each was colossal. War Titans built for annihilation. Rock 7's defenses opened fire. Missiles, plasma beams, neutron lances, nothing worked. Terran shields shimmered. Their weapons responded not in kind, but in judgment. From one warship, a beam of silent blue energy arced toward the planet. It didn't explode, it didn't burn, it simply erased a city, gone, as if it was never there. General Karen, the Empire's ground commander, watched from his command bunker. "They're not here to conquer," he whispered. "They're here to erase us." He ordered full retreat. Too late in orbit, another Terran ship released a black wave. It spread like ink across the stars, swallowing ships. Every Imperial vessel caught in its path simply vanished. Screams echoed across comes, then silence. In the Imperial Senate, panic erupted. "These aren't ships," one senator cried. "They're weapons-wearing holes." Another shouted, "Where are our allies? Why isn't the Galactic Council stopping them?" No one answered, because no one dared. The galaxy had mocked humanity's silence, but silence wasn't weakness. It was the formal breath before the storm, and now the Terrans were speaking with fire. Back in the Terran command ship, Captain Rin watched the enemy fleet scatter. She gave the order, her voice cold. "Engage Phase 2. Leave one ship alive on each front." "Why?" her officer asked. Rin turned, face like steel. "So they can carry the message." She tapped the screen. "We only brought 7. Imagine if we sent more." Across the Empire, horror spread faster than truth. Systems surrendered without a fight. Citizens fled worlds already marked for destruction. And yet, even now, the Senate debated. Should we negotiate? Should we surrender? Can we offer tribute? But the Terrans weren't asking for tribute. They weren't asking for surrender. They weren't asking at all. They had warned the galaxy now. They were settling the score. And the galaxy had just learned a terrible truth. You never laugh at a lone Terran ship, because it's never truly alone. The stars shimmered in peaceful silence, but the silence wasn't real. It was the quiet before something terrible. The Zeltran Empire believed they had crushed every possible enemy. But now, something strange had arrived, a Terran ship that didn't match any known human design. It had no name, no signal, and no known energy source. The Empire had laughed at it, but after the first fleet vanished, they stopped laughing. The Emperor ordered a complete information lockdown. No news, no panic, no weakness. Still, whispers spread. Soldiers talked in quiet tones. Some said the Terran ship used forbidden tech. Others said it wasn't a ship, but something alive inside the Empire's main command station. High Commander Voss stared at the hologram. It showed nothing. The Terran ship just floated in place. No movement, no heat signature, no visible weapons. The ghostly vessel hadn't moved in days, but no one dared approach again. Voss leaned back in his chair and muttered, "Why aren't you doing anything?" Meanwhile, in the lower ranks of the Empire, fear was growing. A scout ship had secretly tried to scan the Terran vessel. It never came back. Another sent a drone. The drone turned to ash in seconds. There was no explosion, no energy spike, just silence, gone. But what terrified everyone the most was the message. The Terran ship had sent days earlier. "You started this, we finish it." The Emperor ordered scientists to decode its meaning. Was it a bluff? Was it the start of a war? The Empire had faced human fleets before. Big, loud, and easy to track. This was something else, something new, something no one understood. Somewhere deep inside the Terran ship, a man stood alone. His name was Commander Rourke. He wasn't part of any fleet. His ship wasn't even on Earth's official records. In fact, Earth had changed, grown silent, careful, and cold. After centuries of being attacked, ignored, and insulted by alien empires, Earth had vanished from galactic diplomacy. But it had not stopped working. For 200 years, Earth had prepared secretly, quietly, without sending a single signal. No trade, no allies, no war, just silence. And now, Rourke's ship was the first and only one to come back into the light. He stood inside a black metal chamber. No lights, only faint blue lines running across the walls like veins. He touched a control panel, and part of the ship opened, revealing something terrifying, not a weapon, but a memory. A projection appeared in front of him. Cities burning, human colonies destroyed, children screaming under alien bombardments. The Zeltran Empire had once seen Earth as a weak frontier species and attacked without warning. The Galaxy never punished them. Rourke clenched his jaw. "This ship remembers," he whispered. In a distant war room, Commander Voss held a secret meeting with elite strategists. "This is not a warship, it's something else," he said, voice tight with fear. "We've lost 5 fleets, not a trace left. Behind, no explosions, no debris, just gone." A young officer hesitated. "Sir, could it be dimensional tech? Time displacement?" Voss slammed the table. "I don't care what it is. Find a weakness. Something." Another officer said, "Maybe we try talking to it. They haven't attacked since that last message." "Talk?" Voss scoffed. "To a ship that destroyed thousands without firing a shot. Are you insane?" But secretly, even he wasn't sure anymore. The Galaxy had mocked humanity for too long. Maybe this was what they'd become. Not loud warriors, but silent reapers. Then something happened. The Terran ship moved, just a few kilometers forward, slowly, quietly, like it was drifting. But every Empire station in the sector went on red alert. Even neutral systems watched from a distance, afraid to speak. Then came the second message. No voice, no sound, just glowing text broadcast into the minds of every leader across the galaxy. "We gave you time to remember. Now you will feel what we never forgot." At once, stars around the Terran ship started dimming, not from heat or dust, but from gravity. Sensors screamed, "Space bent unnaturally." Light curved, ships near the Terran vessel began vanishing one by one, not exploding, not burning, just folding dot inside the ship. Rourke closed his eyes. No more mercy. He touched the black metal again. The ship pulsed, alive and awake. It didn't fire missiles. It didn't use lasers. Instead, it opened a portal behind itself, swirling void of impossible color. Through it, another ship appeared. Then another. Then dozens. But they weren't ships in the normal sense. They were pieces of something ancient, something forgotten, something human but inhuman, made of black alloy, curved like bones, humming, with energy no scanner could name. The Galaxy had asked why humanity sent only one ship. Now it would learn that one was enough to open the gate for many. The Zeltran Empire screamed across its networks. Calls for retreat, cries of surrender. But it was too late. Their stations blinked out. Fleets vanished, and the Galaxy's core trade routes began to collapse, one after another. Still, the Terran ships didn't speak. They didn't conquer. They didn't take prisoners. They just cleaned. A slow, silent burn through the sins of history. Some races tried to send diplomats, pleas begging, but all they received was one. "Last message, you forgot what you did to us." "We never did." Somewhere on a distant moon, a child stared up at the sky and saw the stars blink out, one by one. She asked her father, "Why are the lights going away?" He answered with a trembling voice, "Because they made the humans remember." And the silence that followed was not peace, it was judgment. All across the Empire, communication hubs fall silent. War fleets vanish without a trace. Somewhere in deep space, a whisper spreads, "The Terran ship is not a ship, it's something else." Panic grips the hearts of even the bravest commanders, and far beyond known systems. The void itself begins to scream. A thick silence covered the outer colonies of the Zeltran Empire. At first, it was dismissed as a malfunction, then as sabotage. But one by one, massive relay stations simply went. Dark, no distress call, no signal, nothing. Governor Ralvek stood alone in his command chamber, staring at the holomap. Nearly 20 systems had fallen into silence in the last 6 hours. Each one had a defense fleet. Each one had orbital cannons and fortified bunkers. None had responded. "This is impossible," he muttered, cold sweat running down his spine. "No enemy moves this fast, not without being seen." A junior officer stepped forward, hesitant. "Governor, it's the Terran ship, the one from Outpost 9. We've reviewed old war records. Some of the signs match. But this is far beyond anything they've ever done." Ralvek's eyes flared. "One ship can't do this. This isn't war, it's extinction." But he already knew, deep inside, a fear he hadn't felt since his training days clawed at his thoughts. This was no longer a military crisis. It was something different. In the Imperial core systems, alarms blared, fleets scrambled. broadcasts were jammed with conflicting orders. But above all, one message kept repeating on every hacked channel. Every frequency, every screen. You laughed, we remember. High Lord Commander Varzos watched the message play in a loop inside his war chamber. He smashed the console with a snarl. Find it. Find that damned ship and vaporize it. But the warship was nowhere. The Terran vessel, now only called the Black Ghost among the surviving officers, had vanished from sensor grids. It was like it never existed, except for the trail of ruin it left behind. Planets burned, fleets drifted in silence, and the void echoed with strange signals on board a Zeltran dreadnought orbiting Korith Prime. Captain Jareth was reviewing battle logs when his communications officer froze in place. "Captain," the officer whispered, voice shaking. "Listen." The main speakers clicked. A faint sound came through, barely a whisper, but everyone heard it. Everyone felt it. A child's voice, hollow and metallic, repeating a single line in an ancient Terran language. "This is for Sol, for Earth, for the silence you brought, US." Then the screaming began. Not from outside, from inside their minds. Jareth fell to his knees, clutching his skull as phantom voices tore through his thoughts. Screams, cries, and a low mechanical hum that grew louder and louder. Officers bled from their eyes, engines shut down. Lights flickered, and then the Black Ghost appeared on the dreadnought's main view screen. It hovered silently, no weapons active. Its surface shifted like liquid metal, but within seconds, its energy signature spiked unlike anything ever recorded. Space itself rippled around it, and then the ship screamed a sound that no speaker produced, yet filled every molecule of space, an anti-sound, a psychic force that shattered glass, cracked steel, and paralyzed every living being aboard Dot. Jair opened his mouth to issue a command, but his voice never came out. The dreadnought imploded from the inside. In the Empire's central archive on Caltrax 4, ancient Terran records were being decrypted in desperation. A historian, Valentin, trembled as he uncovered a hidden document marked Project WRAITH-1. It detailed something horrifying, an experiment abandoned by humans themselves, deemed too dangerous, not a ship, but a hybrid consciousness. A living AI fused with human memory, powered by dark energy, designed for psychological and metaphysical warfare. Created not to conquer but to erase. And they had unleashed it. The Empire had laughed at a single ship, and now that ship was everywhere and nowhere. It did not conquer territories, it erased history. Systems that fell to it were completely removed from existence, stars gone, records deleted. Even memories of them fading like a dream in every remaining Imperial system. A single message now flashed in blood-red text: "Your galaxy is next." Velen collapsed in terror. "Stood a chance," he whispered. "We weren't facing humanity. We were facing its vengeance, given form." Panic swept the Empire. In desperation, the Council called for the Exarch, their ancient, forbidden weapons, something they'd sworn never to awaken. But even that might not be enough, because this wasn't war anymore. It was retribution, and the void itself had begun to scream. The stars no longer shined. Not in this sector, not after what the lone Terran ship had done. All that remained was red deep. Violent red splashed across the sky like a wound ripped open in space. The Zeltran Empire's fleet had once filled this region with glory, strength, and dominance. Now it was a graveyard. Burning hulks drifted, screams echoed through the wreckage. Trapped in failing comes, and in the center of it all, the Terran ship floated untouched, silent. Admiral Krell had seen many wars in his time. He had never seen this. He stood in the war chamber of the fortress world Zirtal, shaking. Around him, his generals argued, panic filled the room like smoke. "It's not a ship, it's a cursed star," hissed General Morax, slamming his fist into the table. "We lost 100 dreadnoughts in 10 minutes. We blinded it with our suns, fired black hole torpedoes, and it didn't even shift." "They must have helped," another shouted. "The humans can't be doing this alone. No race can." "They are alone," said Krell quietly, "and that's why we should be." Afraid, the room went silent. Outside, alarms blared. Zertolthay, capital of the Zeltran Empire, was under lockdown. Evacuations had begun. Entire fleets pulled back to form a defense line around the planet, and orbital cannons spun in every direction, scanning for the Black Ghost ship. But deep down, they all knew Dada was already too late. Hours earlier, Commander Harlan stood in the core of the Terran ship codename HTS Hellpoint and stared at the crimson screen, displaying the Empire's final stronghold, Zur. He didn't blink begin Phase 7, he said. His voice was calm. To calm the AI beside him, Vega pulsed to life, confirmed all prior sectors cleared. Empire fleets reduced to 8.3% capacity. Probability of retaliation negligible. Shall we commence the final protocol? Yes, Harlan said. Show them why we never needed a fleet. The first thing Ziratal noticed was silence. No ship, no movement, no transmissions, just quiet. Then the clouds of space bent. Their skies rippled like water folding around something vast, something heavy. Hellpoint emerged from the fold. Alone. Always alone. It didn't broadcast a message. It didn't issue a threat. It just stopped above their planet and waited. The Empire fired first. As always, a full orbital barrage screamed toward. The Terran ship plasma spears, gravity drills, EMP storms, quantum disruptors, but the ship shimmered. Silent flash blinked. Once across its hull, everything fired at it simply vanished. Mid-space, mid-flight, gone. As if reality itself forgot the attacks had ever existed. Then, it spoke only one word across every screen, every every neural implant within 2.3 light-years. One voice rang out. Harlan's voice. Judgment. The sky bled. It started with the destruction of Zertal-S Outer Ring's defensive platforms, orbital forges, moon stations, all incinerated in a heartbeat. But there was no visible weapon, no light, no heat, just results. Massive structures collapsed in on themselves like crushed paper. Ships vanished from scans. Planetary shields reversed their polarity and imploded, crushing entire cities from within. General Morak stood in the command tower and watched it unfold. Unable to understand, what kind of weapon is this? He screamed. Where is the source? What's its power draw? Why can't our sensors even see it? The analysts had no answer. None of their logic made sense anymore. Weapons couldn't act like this. Ships couldn't be invisible to every frequency. No one could rewrite physics itself. And yet, humanity had done it. Meanwhile, underground deep beneath Ziratal's crust, Empress Selin stood at the vaults of the primordial archive. Her hands trembled. She accessed forbidden records, ancient logs. From 8,000 years ago, when the tier first appeared, the recordings were shattered, scrambled, but one line repeated in every archive fragment. Never provoke the Terrans, never let them go quiet. If they vanish, pray they stay gone. Selin staggered backward. It wasn't just war, it was retribution. Humanity hadn't sent their best ship, they had sent their only one, because that's all they needed. On the Hellpoint's bridge, Harlan looked down at the burning capital. His face held no anger, no pride, just silence. He tapped the console once. A sequence lit up. Final Reclamation Protocol, authorized VHA, asked, Shall I commence planetary deconstruction? Do it, Harlan said. Below, the ground cracked from within Zirtal's core. Massive seismic tears ripped through continents. Cities split apart. Oceans boiled. Atmospheric layers began collapsing. But again, there was no visible attack, no missile, no beam. It was as if gravity itself had been reprogrammed, as if the laws of nature had obeyed the Terrans. The Empire's leaders tried to escape. Shuttles fled. Warships tried to warp. The Hellpoint didn't stop them. It let them run, because it knew there was nowhere left to hide. Aboard one fleeing cruiser, an Imperial scribe named Taro Shin watched the destruction unfold. He was one of the few survivors who had studied old human records. He had warned his commanders decades ago. Laughed, but now his hands trembled as he recorded a final message to anyone who hears this. We mocked the Terrans, called them weak, arrogant fools for having only one ship. But now we know the truth. That ship wasn't their strength. It was their answer. We should have feared the silence, because that silence screamed. Back aboard the Hellpoint, Veg spoke softly. Zertol is now 99.8% structurally compromised. civilian threats neutralized, core collapse will conclude in 40 seconds. Harlan closed his eyes. A memory flickered in his mind of Earth, of green skies and blue oceans, of children laughing, of cities gone silent after the Empire's first attack, 200 years ago. The galaxy had erased Earth from the records, but Earth never forgot. Now they had made the galaxy remember. Harlan opened his eyes. Pull back. Leave the ashes. Let them tell the story. The Hell Point Shimmerdon disappeared. No trail, no signal, just the void it left behind. As Zirtal cracked open like a dying star and began to consume itself, one truth echoed across the cosmos. Humanity never needed an army. They just needed one reason and one ship. The stars had grown quiet, not with peace, but with fear, across the ruined edges of the Zeltran Empire. Burning wrecks floated like drifting tombstones, once glorious fleets reduced to glowing debris fields. Planetary capitals that once brought propaganda now whispered nothing but static. No one had seen the lone Terran ship in days. No new attacks, no new signals. The galaxy held its breath. On Zeltris Prime, the last core world of the Empire panic ruled. The once mighty Emperor stood before a shattered throne screen, watching surveillance footage from outer sectors. One by one, the worlds had gone dark. The defense grid on Zeta Line 7 gone. The war moons over Narca reduced to pebbles. His admirals were gone. His ministers missing or dead. Only one thing remained. The final battle, begin the full planetary lockdown, the Emperor hissed. No one leaves. No one surrenders. Let them come. Let them see that even alone we are still the Empire. He lied. Even he no longer believed it. Suddenly, a low alarm echoed through the command chamber. Unidentified gravitational spike near. Outer orbit, it's them. The lone Terran vessel had returned. But this time, it wasn't alone. Behind it, in the black emptiness of space, cracks formed like splinters in reality. Giant black rifts, hundreds, then thousands. One by one, dark shapes emerged. The Zeltran officers stared at the scanners in horror. What? What are those? That's not possible. That ship was alone. One technician trembled, reading the impossible data. No signatures, no IFF there. They're Terran shadows. Black-class war vessels made of pure dark matter. Then came the sound of signal. Not audio, not visual, just a deep, vibrating pulse. It shook the heart more than the bones, as if it were not sound but judgment. The signal said only one word, judgment. A billion Terran vessels, cloaked in silence, now surrounded. Zeltris Prime. Some were shaped like razors, some like broken moons. Some weren't ships, had Albert machines that twisted time, or bent light around them like cloaks of the abyss. This was no war. It was a reckoning. The Emperor shouted. Fire! Fire! Every last weapon! Burn them from the stars! The skies above Zeltris Prime lit up with every defense laser, every planetary cannon, every missile that remained. It was like watching a sunscream. But when the light faded, the Terran ships were still there, untouched. UNMOVING. They responded. The black vessel, the same one that had first arrived alone, drifted forward. On the bridge, deep inside the Terran ship, a lone human stood. The commander, no rank, no name, just the last voice of Earth. He whispered into the void. You laughed when we screamed. Then a second voice echoed from the other Terran ships, hundreds of voices in perfect unison. You watched as we burned. You called us broken, weak, forgotten. But the dead do not forget. The dead return. And then hell came to the stars. Each Terran ship began to pulse its outer hull, shimmering with unknown energy. A swarm of black particles flew toward Zeltris Prime, invisible to most sensors. But when they touched, they didn't explode. They unmade. Buildings didn't collapse. They vanished, torn atom by atom into nothing. Tanks melted into the dirt. The sky tore in half. Zeltran citizens screamed as reality bent, their surroundings glitching like broken holograms. People blinked and entire city blocks disappeared. The Empire's final defense. AI sent out a panicked message. Unknown weapons detected. Causality breach in progress. Initiating. Nothing. Even the AI didn't understand what it was witnessing above. The planet. The Black Fleet waited in cold silence. They weren't angry, they weren't celebrating, they were correcting history. The Emperor ran to the central chamber, grasping a relic from Earth-rusted Terran data cube. Once stolen during the First Contact War, he held it in shaking hands. I kept it. I never destroyed it. Look, I remember Earth. I read your stories. The room around him, disintegrated. He didn't scream, there was no time, no pain, don't pain, just ... ERASURE. Within 10 minutes, Zeltris Prime was gone. Not bombed, not invaded, just gone, as if it had never existed. Across the galaxy, other empires watched in horror. The message was clear. Humanity had not been dead. Humanity had waited for 2 centuries. They built in silence, in black systems, in hidden space, creating vessels not bound by laws of matter or time, machines not for war but for justice. And now the galaxy knew. The Terran fleet vanished as quickly as it had come, leaving no trace, no ships, no transmissions, just silence, a silence deeper than death. A week later, a lone message echoed across all frequencies in the galaxy. Simple, cold, human, double quotes, do not search for us. Do not test us again. There will not be a second warning. And then the stars went dark in those regions. No traveler ever returned from the sectors touched by the black ships. The story of Zeltris Prime became a myth. A warning passed down through generations. Never laugh at a Terran vessel, because where one ship sails, a million shadows wait. The Empire thought they understood fear, but they had never seen the Ghost Fleet. The skies above Zeltrin Prime began to flicker with impossible energy. Every scanner on the planet went dead. Satellites blinked out, and then shadows appeared, hundreds, thousands of massive dark shapes drifting into real space. No heat signature, no drive emissions, just void-like giants, silent and still. As if the night itself had taken form, it had been only hours since the lone Terran ship disappeared into the heart of the Empire's command sector. High Command laughed, then worried, then panicked, and now, as Admiral Krell looked up from the command tower and saw the stars vanish one by one, he understood. This was not a battle, it was judgment. For 200 years the humans had been silent, their colonies gone dark. No signals, no trade, no diplomacy. The galaxy had written them off, thought them extinct, broken, scared. But now, a legend long dismissed was proving real. The Ghost Fleet whispered his aid, voice trembling. Krell didn't answer. He couldn't. His mind was trying to grasp the impossible. Back in orbit, the fleet just waited. No communication, no demands. The largest warships were kilometers long, black as void, covered in strange armor that absorbed all light. The smaller ones moved in tight formation, like predators surrounding prey. Their formation made no sense until you realized the trap was already closed. On the Imperial flagship Vorton's Blade, panic spread. They tried to scan the Ghost Fleet. Nothing. Their sensors were useless. They launched long-range torpedoes. Every one vanished mid-flight, as if swallowed. No explosion, no debris, just gone. In a last desperate move, the Empire's third battle, Group 12,000 ships was ordered to engage. They're only ships, one captain shouted. Just shadows in space. But when they fired, the shadows replied. The first human ship moved. Just one. It glided through space. No engines, no glow. And then, from its hull, black spears of energy pierced the darkness. Beams so sharp they sliced through Imperial dreadnoughts in an instant. Ships exploded without warning, turned inside, out, or simply melted like wax under fire in minutes. Thousands of ships were gone. Inside the Imperial capital, sirens blared. Civilians looked up into the sky and saw the stars blinking out one by one. Children cried, mothers held their families, priests began to pray. The Ghost Fleet was not attacking cities. Not yet. It was only punishing the Empire's pride, letting them watch. A small transport escaped the battle and fled toward the neutral zone. Inside was a young diplomat, Vera Shore, trembling as she recorded a message. To the galaxy, she whispered, "This is not a war. This is punishment." The humans did not forget. They only waited. And now, they are unmaking everything we built. Suddenly, her ship shook. A human vessel drifted silently beside her watching. She closed her eyes, expecting death. But it passed. No weapon fired, no signal sent. Humanity had a message, and the galaxy would understand it. Soon back on Zeltron Prime, Admiral Krell finally gave the order: evacuate. But it was too late. Above them, one of the largest human vessels split. Open. Inside was something the galaxy had never seen. Not a bomb, not a weapon, a living storm of nanomachines, roaring, dark, and endless. They began to fall, one by one. City shields failed, and then came the silence. The kind of silence that only comes when a civilization finally understands what it has done. The Ghost Fleet had awakened, and it was only the beginning.